is how I learned that it was all in the numbers and it was done in the computers. I asked a brilliant mathematician in Oregon to look at my primary, or maybe it was one of my candidates. I've managed 10 political campaigns, all federal. Attorney General, several for Congress, one for Senate. I asked him to look at the primary precinct breakdown. This is within each precinct. He didn't think much of it, and I said, okay, now let's turn the tables. If I were to ask you to write a program to fix the election for one candidate or the other, what would you do? He said, well, I'd make candidate A, the one that he wanted to win by 55% of the vote in each precinct, plus or minus a standard deviation of 5 to 10% per precinct. So they would take the universe of number of people that actually showed up at the polls and voted in that precinct. And then they give 55% to candidate A. Plus or minus, remember the minus, 5 to 10% standard deviation. So that candidate A didn't win by 55, didn't get 55% in each one of the precincts. Some he got 55, some he got 57, some he got below, some he got maybe 45. Because you didn't want him to win every one, then it would be obvious as well. So and then after he told me that, then I said, now I want you to relook at the precinct breakdown. And his eyes got wide and he said, you're right, this is manufactured, this is fixed. Because only the smallest precincts did candidate B win when we looked at the precinct breakdowns. Because when you've got a precinct of 10 or 15 people, one vote is a much higher percentage of the total overall. So in that minus 10%, candidate B could get some of the vote. And then I came here and I worked in the polling places and I had long conversation with Chris Kobach about this issue. He felt that because they require everyone to prove that they are a citizen, that this would not be an issue. And it wouldn't be an issue. But they're using the legitimately registered voters in Kansas to deliver a result they want through the machines. Because you get these machines and you'll get your little card and you put it in, and they have a memory card that's supposed to tally it. And it'll tell you that you voted for who you said you voted for before you check out and you take your card up. But as you can see on this other video that I'm going to link to, they could send in a malicious software, and they were told when they were doing the test that their person they voted for was the person that they voted for, and that the tally would match what they had voted for. And they all voted for George Washington against Benedict Arnold, and then Benedict Arnold ended up getting 2 votes and Washington got 1 vote or whatever, because there were like 3 votes. In any case, and it printed it out on the little paper printout as well as being on the card, which is taken to the tally machine that tallies it all up from each precinct all around the state. These are all certified out of this group. This is voluntary. They're certified out of this group in Washington, D.C. now, this year. They haven't had it in the previous years, but this year, this was created after Help America Vote Act, or Help America Help the Democrats Fix the Vote Act. That's what I think it is. This was created, and they're supposed to have 50% of the commissioners, 2 commissioners that are Republican, 2 commissioners that are Democrat. And then they have a leader or whatever. And this headed guy is supposedly was endorsed by Chris Kobach. We love Chris Kobach, but all these figureheads at the top of this commission, they don't know what can be done by the minions that are sending out and certifying these cards. They could plant the malicious software on each one of these cards, send them out to the state of Kansas and other states. And it looks like most of the states are wanting to do this because they want to look like they're on the up and up, because they're certified from EAC, Election Assistance Commission. So they must be okay. And then they have it set up, and they say this in the video, that it'll test and they'll tell them how to test the machines. So when they test the machines before they put them in each of the precincts, they look like they're reporting the results exactly the way they say they are. Because the way they're telling them to test them is the way that they know how to fix them. So they test back to the machines. They test the machines. They tell you how to test the machines at each one of the county elections offices so that they'll pass, thinking that these are on the up and up. Then they get them into the precincts, and once people are actually voting, it triggers the vote to come out the way they want it to come out. And they don't do it in every county, I don't believe. At least from what happened in Oregon and now what I've seen here in Kansas. I think they only do it in the major metropolitan larger counties, which is why you see blue in every major metropolitan city when you look at the red and blue maps for Democrats, because they need to fix it in the major metropolitan cities. In the state of Oregon, the population is such that as long as you fix the tri-county area around Portland and the county where the University of Oregon is and the city of Eugene is, then it doesn't matter what the rest of the state. The rest of the state can go 100% Republican and it's still going to go Democrat. That's how they do it. So what we need to do is we need to demand that we return to paper ballots. People at the elections, each precinct, stay afterwards. I don't care if it takes a day. I don't care if it takes 2 days. I don't care if we have so many voters that they have to shut it down after the elections and start counting the next day. Too bad. So sad for the TV stations. They'll just get their numbers the next day. Who cares? We got to have a legitimate vote. So I don't know that this is it is. We're, a few days, less than a month or so out. What are we? A little over a month out from this election in November, so chances are very, very slim that we're going to be able to expose this utter fraud and corruption before the very important presidential election. So what I'm asking you to do is, if you are going to be voting for Donald Trump, please wear a red shirt. If you want to go the extra mile, wear blue pants or blue jeans or something else. But definitely wear a red shirt. And when you go to the polls, and you see a line of people, and you see a lot of people with red shirts on, please take a picture and post it on your social sites, okay? Post it on your social sites. I think, it's Mr. Stone, I can't remember, is it Roger Stone? I can't remember. He's a friend of Donald Trump's, and he's trying to investigate and get into this election integrity so that we can have a backup. I've been trying to think of how we can have a backup, because, if you have an online site, I guess you could log in under different logins in order to vote more than once. At one point I figured out a way that I can't think of it right now. In any case, we have to have a backup, and I'm begging Donald Trump, if they fix the election for Hillary Clinton, or whoever, if Hillary Clinton drops out and they put somebody else in their stead or something, do not pick up your toys and go home like every other Republican candidate has done since George Bush. McCain did it. Romney did it. It was obvious they fixed the election against Romney. I did a breakdown. It's all in the numbers. I did a breakdown of Los Angeles County, San Francisco County, Lane County, where Eugene is, and Portland's main downtown county, Multnomah County. And then I did Seattle and I believe Tacoma, where Tacoma, Washington is, all up and down the West Coast, where either all vote by mail or primarily all vote by mail. And the total percentage that Barack Obama won in 2008 and 2012 was almost identical, within 3 percentage points on all of them, all up and down the West Coast. Despite the fact that Mitt Romney was a much stronger candidate, despite the fact that we had tired of and seen that the change was not a good change from 2008. All the different variables that enter into a political campaign that changed, and yet percentage of vote was nearly exact in all these precincts. All these counties. That tells you something. Also, look at the Democrats that don't wage much of a political campaign. They're very confident. Earl Blumenauer, when I was managing Delia Lopez's campaign in 2010, Earl Blumenauer had on his calendar that he was going to go to Asia for the entire election area. So he didn't need to wage a campaign. Refused to do any debates. So then on election night, this fraud it goes through to the TV stations, both here, and I've recognized this anomaly happening in Oregon and in this last primary here in Kansas. In Oregon, in 2010, I was managing the political campaign for Delia Lopez. I told her I will help her run her campaign, and regardless of how badly she lost, she had to agree to ask for a partial recount of the corrupt Multnomah County Elections Office. She said sure, and we did overpass sign waves. We were reaching thousands of people in the overpass. We had such enthusiasm. We were advertising on the Spanish radio station. She was giving out her cell phone number. We had people calling all the time. The excitement for somebody named Lopez to be running for Congress was in his very large Hispanic population in that area of Portland, Oregon. And on election night, they refused to place the word Lopez on the screen while they were reporting the results. They reported Blumenauer 70% and 20% to Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence was the Libertarian candidate, and never on the county elections or county breakdown or the Secretary of State's office did he ever get above single digits. But they gave Delia Lopez, who did get around 20%, 23, 24%, something like that, they gave her percentage to Lawrence because they did not want to have the word Lopez on the screen, because they did not want to alienate the Hispanics who were very excited about voting for Lopez. So that was on their breakdown on the ABC KATU's website for days afterwards, including, and I even had it featured on my TV show in Oregon. I went online, pulled up their election breakdown, and it still had Lawrence with more votes than Delia Lopez. She had people calling up in broken English saying, "We voted for you. We all voted for you," crying. "We don't understand why you didn't win. We all voted for you." Then I get here this last August 2nd in Kansas, and I'm keeping track on my Excel breakdown of the exact time and the amount of votes for each candidate in one of the races in the congressional race, which was in competition between a fellow by the name of Good, Lieutenant Colonel Greg Good, and who I'd been helping because I liked him a lot, and I was very disappointed in how Kevin Yoder had used my efforts when I'd volunteered for his campaign in 2014. So I was keeping track of it, and I was looking on the Secretary of State's website, on the county website, and 20 minutes, and so was the reporter from AP. He was too, and he was getting the same numbers I was. We were like, what's going on? 20 minutes before the numbers changed on these websites, that all the television stations, local television stations in Kansas City, were giving the race to Kevin Yoder with numbers we didn't see. And I don't even think when the numbers finally did come out, I don't even think it took about 45 minutes, I think, for them to match up so that the numbers on the Secretary of State's website reporting on the race were the same as the numbers that are being reported on the local news. They were reporting this 20 minutes before, just like they were purposely misreporting the news in Portland, Oregon, to make sure that they didn't alienate anybody that would in the future want to vote for Earl Blumenauer. We can't keep this up. We've got to go back to paper ballots. So I hope you've enjoyed this show, and thank you very much for your time.